You're standing in the lobby with your own suitcase. Marble floor, bright light. 10 feet away, a bellhop is carrying someone else's bags without being asked. Nobody told him to. He just knew who to help. You paid $212 for this room. You booked it 11 weeks early. You feel proud of that number, right up until this exact moment. This is level 1. There are 8 levels. At level 8, the hotel isn't serving guests anymore. It's serving one family. One wedding, one name, every room, every staff member for one weekend. You're about to see exactly what changes between here and there. And it isn't just the money. You found the room on a discount app. Listed at $400 a night, you got it for $212. Booked 11 weeks early. The hotel had empty rooms and needed to fill them. You needed a deal. It worked out for both of you. This is your first 4-star hotel. You rehearse the name in the car, twice. Check-in is fine. The agent is polite in that specific way. Trained polite, warm enough, efficient enough. She hands you a key card. Points you toward the elevators. Nobody offers to take your bag. The bellhop is right there, standing by the door. But the offer doesn't come. So you roll your own suitcase across the marble floor, stepping sideways to avoid some kid who cuts in front of you chasing a balloon. Across the room, a family gets their luggage carried without a word being said. You don't ask why, you just notice. The room is nice, genuinely nice. The bed surprises you. You didn't expect to feel a difference in a bed. 2 robes hang behind the bathroom door. You take a photo of them, not because you need to remember robes, because it feels like something you're supposed to document. You open the room service menu. A club sandwich is $40. You do the math in your head. Not because $40 would break you, because $40 wasn't in the plan. The pool is technically available. The bar is technically available. Everything is available in the same way a menu is available. You can look at all of it and still only afford some of it. You use the pool once, you skip the bar. At checkout, nobody asks how your stay was. 3 days later, a survey shows up in your email. You open it. You don't finish it. You were a transaction here. Booked, completed, filed. The relationship ends the second your key card stops working. On the drive home, you catch yourself thinking about the bellhop by the door more than the room itself. Not angry about it. Just turning it over. Efficient and noticed are not the same thing. And you can pay for one without ever getting close to the other. You've stayed at this brand 4 times now, different cities. Enough nights to have an account number. Enough to hit silver tier. A status the app talks about constantly and the front desk has never once mentioned out loud. This time you booked direct, not through the discount app, through the hotel's own site. You read somewhere that direct booking unlocks things. A late checkout, a small points bonus, you wanted both. At the desk, the agent types your name in. There's a pause. A second and a half, maybe 2, while the profile loads. Welcome back, she says. Same tone she'd use for anyone. Same tone as, here's your key card. Same tone as everything. Your room is on a higher floor than last time. Maybe that's the status working. Maybe it's just an empty room on a high floor. You'll never know which. On the desk, a small card. White cardstock. It tells you that as a silver member, you get complimentary water and late checkout until noon. That's it. That's the whole list. You drink the water anyway. You check out at 11:45 because it's there to use. Later, you open the app to redeem some points. 12,000 points sounded like a lot when you were earning them. Now they cover about $40 off a room that costs $300. You do the math twice, thinking you got it wrong the first time. You didn't. A shower runs cold on night 2. You call the front desk. Someone comes up, fixes it in 10 minutes. No drama. No apology that costs anything either. Just fixed. Conversation over. You're being tracked here. Recognized, even. Just enough attention to keep you coming back. Calibrated so it costs the hotel almost nothing. Being loyal and being valued turn out to be 2 different transactions. Only one of them is on offer at this desk. You didn't chase this status. It just happened. 40 nights a year, give or take, all on the same brand, all on a corporate card your company reimburses without asking questions. Somewhere around night 30, you crossed into the top tier. You didn't notice the exact moment, you just noticed the emails changed. Tonight you check in, and the agent says your name before you say hers. Not welcome back, your actual name. She's looking at a screen, sure, but she's looking at it before you got here, not while you're standing in front of her. We've got you in a corner room tonight, if that works. Nobody asked if you wanted an upgrade. It's just offered, the way you'd offer someone a seat, instead of asking if they want one. You take the elevator up, the room's fine. Bigger window than usual, you don't think much of it. What you do think about is the lounge, 9th floor. Quiet in a way the lobby isn't. Real breakfast, eggs made to order, not shrink-wrapped pastries. In the evening, wine and small plates that function as dinner if you let them. And you do let them, because you're traveling alone on a Tuesday and you don't want to sit by yourself in a restaurant downstairs. Nobody charges you for any of it. Breakfast, dinner, 2 glasses of wine, that's maybe $90 a night, just gone. Disappeared. Not because you're rich, because you're here enough that the hotel decided it's cheaper to feed you than to lose you. Hotels don't reward wealth first, they reward predictable revenue. You happen to be both tonight, but it's the second one that got you the lounge key. Your points move faster now too. The redemptions actually feel like something, not the shrunken math from a year ago. Sitting there with a glass you didn't pay for, it occurs to you that none of this is really about you. It's about the volume of business you represent. The 40 nights next year, and the 40 after that. You're a well-treated proxy for somebody else's expense account. That doesn't make the wine taste different. It just changes what the wine means. This trip is different. It's your 1-year anniversary, and you actually decided ahead of time, that this one should feel like something. You booked the suite, not because someone at work arranged it, because you saved for it, and you clicked confirm, and then you second-guessed it for 2 days after. You pull up, and a bellhop is already at the car. He doesn't ask if you want help with the bags, he just takes them. Walks them through the lobby, into the elevator, up to the room, sets them inside the closet. Done before you've even figured out where the bathroom is. You didn't have time to say no. You're not sure you would have. The room isn't a room. It's 1,500 square feet, a living area with an actual couch, a dining table that seats 4 for the 2 of you. A bathtub angled toward the window facing the skyline, as someone designed it, assuming you'd want to look at something while you sat there. On the counter, a bottle of wine. Not ordered. Just there. You pick it up and read the label twice, because you don't actually recognize the name and don't want to ask. 2 minutes after you get settled, there's a knock. It's the front desk manager. In person. He shakes your hand, says something short and warm about your anniversary. Someone told him, you realize, before you told anyone, and then he's gone. The whole thing takes 90 seconds. It's not much, it's also nothing. Later that night, you call down and ask if there's anywhere good for dinner. Somewhere hard to get into. 20 minutes later, the concierge calls back. There's a table. 6 weeks of wait list at that restaurant. Normally, you didn't wait 6 minutes. It wasn't a suggestion. It wasn't a list of 3 restaurants and a shrug. Someone made a call on your behalf. Because the hotel has a standing relationship with that kitchen, and a certain number of tables held for nights exactly like this one. You keep the card from the wine. Not sure why. You just don't throw it away. Somewhere in that bathtub, looking at a skyline you didn't grow up near, you think about the version of you 2 years ago who split hotel rooms with 3 roommates to afford a concert. A concierge doesn't mean someone who's helpful. It means someone who already opened the door before you knocked. Something worth pausing on. Look at the distance you've already crossed. At level 1, you rolled your own bag across a marble floor and photographed a robe because it felt like the only proof you had that you were somewhere new. At level 4, a manager knocked on your door to say happy anniversary before you'd told him it was your anniversary. Same industry, same kind of building. Sometimes the same city, a few blocks apart. Nobody in either room did anything wrong. The agent at level 1 wasn't cold. She was doing her job exactly the way she was trained to do it. Competently, politely, quickly. The manager at level 4 wasn't secretly kinder as a person. He was doing his job too. Just a version of the job built around a different number. That's the part that's easy to miss if you're moving too fast through this. It was never really about the people behind the desk. It was about which version of the system each of them was standing inside. You didn't change between those two trips. Not as a person. You still forget to floss some nights. You still argue with the same people about the same things. What changed was which system decided to notice you, and how much of itself it was willing to spend making sure you noticed it back. Keep that in mind going forward, because it only gets more true from here. The gap stops being about service. It starts being about whether you have to ask at all. And this is your 9th stay at this specific hotel, not the brand, this building, this lobby. You didn't plan it that way. Work kept sending you back, and then you started choosing it on your own, even when work wasn't the reason. You check in, and the general manager is standing near the desk. His name is Warren. You know his name because he's introduced himself before, twice actually, and you're a little embarrassed you needed the second time. He sees you before you reach the counter. "Good to have you back," he says. Uses your name. Not read off a screen. He's already looking at you when he says it. Somewhere in a system you'll never see, your file has notes that go past prefers a high floor. A human being looked at your reservation before you arrived and made decisions about it. That doesn't happen for most guests walking through this lobby tonight. Maybe a dozen of them. In the room, there's a card on the desk. It mentions your name. It also mentions something specific, a wine you liked 3 stays ago, that you mentioned once in passing to a bartender you don't remember talking to. You stand there holding the card for a second longer than you need to. You know, logically, this isn't personal. Somebody wrote a note in a database. Somebody else read the note. A bottle got pulled and placed on your counter. It's a process. A well-run one, but a process. Knowing that doesn't make it feel like nothing. Midway through your stay, Warren stops by again. Not a long conversation. Just checking that everything's right, handing you his direct line in case it isn't. Nothing goes wrong this trip. But on night 2, you mention, almost as a joke, that the pillow's a little softer than you like. By the time you're back from dinner, it's been swapped. You didn't ask twice. You barely asked once. Asking once is expected here. Asking twice is treated internally as something the hotel failed to prevent. You stopped booking your own hotels 2 years ago. Not because you got lazy, because a friend introduced you to a travel advisor named Colette, and the first trip she booked came with things you didn't ask for and didn't know existed. You call Colette. She books. That's the whole process on your end now. Her agency belongs to a network, one of a handful of names hotels actually pay attention to. When she sends your reservation, it comes in flagged, attached to a list of things the hotel is contractually supposed to give you. A room upgrade if one exists, breakfast, every morning, no asking, $100 a day toward food and drinks, credited automatically. Early check-in, late checkout. Not requested. Standard. You didn't negotiate any of this. Colette did a long time ago on behalf of everyone she books. Before you arrive, someone from the hotel's guest experience team emails her. Asks if there's anything they should prepare. She tells them the beer you like. She tells them you sleep better with the room a little cold. You walk in, and the room is 68 degrees. Your beer is in the mini fridge. On the desk, a note, handwritten, actual pen, not a printed script with your name filled in. Someone meets you in the room, already has your details pulled up, walks you through the essentials in under 2 minutes, and leaves. You realize an hour later you never actually signed anything. There was no line. He didn't stand anywhere. Connections don't replace money. They multiply it. Colette didn't get you a discount. She got the hotel to spend money on you before you'd spent $1 with them. You think about the lobby downstairs, the one you can see through the window if you look. People at the front desk waiting their turn the same way you used to. You realize nobody actually asked who you were. There's a suite at this hotel you've never seen listed online. You know it exists because you've stayed in it. You just can't pull it up on the booking site, no matter how you search. Some properties call this tier an inner circle. Others don't name it at all. Because the guests it applies to never found it through a name, they found it through spending, through a referral, or because someone senior at the hotel group decided your account deserved different handling. Nobody sent an email announcing that decision. It just started happening. At certain properties like this one, you get a butler for the length of your stay. His name is Desmond. He isn't reachable by a phone number the way the concierge was 2 levels ago. He's just present. In the hallway when you step out. Near the elevator when you come back. On night 2, you mention, casually, half joking, that room service always feels like an afterthought at hotels like this. By the next evening, dinner arrives plated differently than anything on the printed menu. Desmond doesn't explain it. You don't ask. At level 1, the question was, can I afford this? Somewhere around level 4, it became, is this available? Here the question is, when do you want it, and how? Between stays, someone from the hotel reaches out to your assistant. Not to sell you anything. Just to stay in touch, mention upcoming availability, remain a name that doesn't go quiet too long. You ask Desmond at some point how many guests he's assigned to in a year. He tells you, it's a small number. You lose your room key on night 3. You feel oddly embarrassed about it, the way you wouldn't have at any hotel before this one. You're not a guest here in the way the word usually means. You're a line of projected revenue the hotel quietly agreed not to lose. Your college roommate is getting married. Not at a venue, at a hotel, the entire property for 3 days, starting Friday. You didn't know this was something you could book until you got the invitation. The wedding party has the building, the restaurants, the pool, the ballroom, the smaller room off the lobby you never noticed on past trips. There's no one else here who isn't here for the wedding. You ask the bride how this even gets arranged. She laughs and says her fiancé's family handled it. You press a little. Not the front desk, not even the general manager. The negotiation happened with people who own pieces of the hotel group. They weighed what the property would have earned that weekend against what it's earning instead. It made sense. That's why you're standing here. By Friday afternoon, the hotel doesn't feel like a hotel anymore. It feels like somebody's house that just happens to have 300 rooms. You notice the staff before you notice anything else. More people working this weekend per guest than you've ever seen at a hotel. Because the entire operating model shifted, just for these 3 days, from running a hotel to running a very large, very well-staffed household. You go looking for a vending machine on Saturday morning, out of habit, before you remember there isn't one you need. Someone would just bring you whatever you wanted, if you asked. You don't ask. You just find that funny, standing in an empty hallway at 8 in the morning, still checking your pockets for change. The menu at dinner isn't from a laminated book. The executive chef built it after 2 calls with the couple about what they actually grew up eating. Saturday's dessert turns out to be a version of something the groom's grandmother used to make. And you only know that because someone mentions it quietly at your table, not because it's printed anywhere. Saturday night, you stand on a terrace that's normally roped off, holding a drink nobody billed you for, watching 280 people dance in a space that would usually be full of strangers checking in and out. Not tonight. Tonight, the whole building only knows one name. Somewhere around midnight, you end up talking to one of the servers on a smoke break near the kitchen entrance. She's worked here 4 years. She tells you she's never seen the building this quiet and this full at the same time. Quiet because there's no lobby noise, no other guests moving through. Just the wedding, contained, everywhere at once. You think about the lobby you first walked into. Years ago, rolling your own suitcase across the marble floor while a family nearby got theirs carried without a word. You think about the $40 sandwich. The card that told you about your silver status. The bathtub facing a skyline you didn't grow up near. All of it, somehow, led to this terrace. Not because you got here. Because you watched, at every stop, exactly what money was actually buying. It was never the room. It was never having to ask twice. Somewhere tonight, at a different hotel, in a different city, someone is standing in a lobby with their own suitcase. They booked 11 weeks early. They got a good rate. They feel proud of that number. A bellhop passes them, carrying someone else's bags. They don't know yet what that means. They will.